In the rush of modern life, where the days blend into one another and responsibilities seem endless, the concept of inner balance often becomes more of a distant dream than a living reality. Reclaiming inner balance is not about creating a perfect routine or becoming immune to chaos. It is about learning to exist in harmony with yourself, despite the noise of the world. Every woman, regardless of age, role, or circumstance, carries within her a natural rhythm, a pulse of intuition, emotion, and strength that, when honored, allows her to live with grounded peace. But when that rhythm is interrupted by stress, expectation, and disconnection, she begins to drift away from her own center. To reclaim it, she must first understand that balance is not found outside. It is remembered within. We live in a culture that celebrates productivity over presence, busyness over balance, and achievement over alignment. From the moment we wake up, we are flooded with stimuli, notifications, comparisons, deadlines, and responsibilities that demand more and more from us. In this constant state of doing, many women forget the essence of simply being. The mind becomes tangled in future worries or past regrets, and the body bears the silent tension of it all. The reset begins when one realizes that balance is not the absence of movement, but the art of moving gracefully between the internal and external worlds. It's about recognizing when to engage and when to retreat, when to speak and when to listen, when to give and when to rest. Reclaiming inner balance requires awareness, a willingness to pause and look inward without judgment. Most women are taught to nurture others before themselves, to stay strong even when they are exhausted, and to keep smiling even when they are breaking. Over time, that emotional weight accumulates and manifests as anxiety, fatigue, or emptiness. The first act of returning to balance is acknowledging that you are worthy of your own care. It means giving yourself permission to stop, breathe, and ask, "What do I need right now?" That single question can shift energy from depletion to renewal. The mind, when left unchecked, becomes a restless storyteller, spinning endless narratives about inadequacy, guilt, and comparison. Inner balance is reclaimed by quieting that noise, not by force, but through gentle redirection. Meditation, journaling, and mindful breathing are not just wellness trends. They are gateways to inner stillness. In that stillness, the mind learns to soften its edges. Thoughts still come, but they no longer control the emotional current. You begin to observe rather than absorb, to respond rather than react. That is the essence of balance, the moment you become the calm observer of your own inner weather. The body, too, is a map of balance. It speaks through sensation, tight shoulders, shallow breaths, tension in the jaw. These are not random discomforts, but messages from a body that has carried too much for too long. The process of reclaiming balance involves listening to those signals and responding with compassion instead of criticism. Movement becomes medicine. Stretching, walking, or dancing, any act that reconnects you to your body begins to reset the nervous system. The body thrives on rhythm, wake and sleep, tension and release, movement and stillness. When you align with that rhythm, you begin to feel more grounded, more alive, and more at ease within your own skin. Emotionally, balance is not about constant happiness. It's about emotional fluidity, the ability to move through sadness, anger, joy, and fear without getting stuck. Many women suppress their emotions out of fear of being seen as too sensitive or too much. But emotions are energy in motion. When denied, they stagnate. Allowing yourself to feel is not a weakness. It is a reclamation of authenticity. When you let emotions flow, whether through tears, conversation, or creative expression, you release the internal pressure that disturbs your peace. You create space for clarity, compassion, and calm to return. Spiritual balance, often the most subtle form, involves connection to something greater than yourself. This doesn't always mean religion. It can mean connecting to nature, art, silence, or purpose. It is about remembering that you are not separate from life, but a part of its intricate dance. Taking a few moments each day to ground yourself in gratitude, to step outside and breathe in the natural world, or to reflect on the bigger picture, can shift your entire perspective. You stop chasing control and start embracing flow. That surrender is not giving up. It is trusting that you are supported even when things feel uncertain. Reclaiming inner balance also means redefining success. Society often conditions women to measure their worth through external achievements, career milestones, relationships, appearances, or possessions. But true success is internal. Peace of mind, emotional stability, and a sense of alignment between what you do and who you are. When your actions reflect your values, when your choices arise from self-awareness rather than expectation, balance begins to anchor itself naturally. You stop living for validation and start living in integrity with yourself. Boundaries play a crucial role in maintaining that balance. Without them, energy leaks into everything and everyone else, leaving little for your own restoration. Boundaries are not walls. They are gates of self-respect. They allow you to say no without guilt and yes without resentment. They protect your time, your focus, and your emotional space. Reclaiming inner balance often requires pruning, letting go of relationships, habits, or commitments that drain your vitality. It takes courage, but it also creates space for what truly nourishes you to take root. Rest is another vital part of this reclamation. In a world that glorifies constant action, rest becomes a radical act of self-preservation. Rest is not laziness, it is a return to rhythm. Sleep, stillness, and solitude are where the body repairs and the mind integrates. When you honor your need for rest, you are not stepping back. You are recharging your capacity to show up fully. Many women experience guilt when they slow down, as if rest must be earned. But balance reminds us that rest is a right, not a reward. Inner balance is also about forgiveness, both toward oneself and others. Holding on to resentment or regret creates emotional heaviness that keeps you anchored in the past. Forgiveness is not about condoning hurtful behavior. It's about freeing yourself from its emotional grip. When you forgive, you reclaim the energy that was once tied to pain. You release the emotional weight that clouds your clarity. In that release, balance quietly returns. Connection is another dimension of balance that often gets overlooked. Humans are social beings, and women especially thrive in supportive circles. Reclaiming balance doesn't mean isolation. It means being intentional about the energy you surround yourself with. Nurturing relationships that uplift, listening deeply, and allowing yourself to receive support strengthens your emotional foundation. Balance doesn't mean doing it all alone. It means knowing when to lean in and when to let go. Lastly, reclaiming inner balance requires patience. It's not a one-time fix, but a continuous practice. Balance fluctuates. It expands and contracts with the seasons of your life. There will be days when you feel centered and days when you feel lost, and both are part of the human experience. What matters is returning, again and again, to the awareness that peace lives within you. Each mindful breath, each compassionate choice, each moment of stillness brings you back closer to that equilibrium. The journey of reclaiming inner balance is not about becoming someone new. It is about remembering who you already are beneath the noise. It is about honoring your body as your home, your mind as your instrument, and your soul as your compass. When you begin to align these parts, body, mind, and spirit, you create a life that flows rather than fights, that breathes rather than burns out, that feels whole even amidst imperfection. The body is the first home we ever inhabit, yet it is often the one we neglect the most. For many women, the relationship with their body is shaped by years of external conditioning. societal standards, cultural ideals, and silent comparisons that whisper that the body is something to fix rather than something to cherish. But true nourishment begins the moment a woman reclaims ownership of her body, seeing it not as an ornament, but as a living expression of her inner world. To nourish the body is to honor its wisdom, to listen when it speaks, and to treat it as a sacred vessel deserving of care, rest, and reverence. When you begin to nourish your body as an act of self-respect, every meal, movement, and moment of rest transforms from a routine task into a declaration of worthiness. The body is deeply intelligent. It holds memories, emotions, and instincts far beyond what the conscious mind can grasp. When we rush through life, ignoring hunger cues, skipping rest, and silencing fatigue with caffeine or obligation, we disconnect from this intelligence. Nourishing the body starts with awareness, learning to listen. Hunger is not just physical, it can also be emotional or spiritual. Sometimes the craving isn't for food, but for comfort, connection, or calm. By slowing down and asking what the body truly needs, we begin to feed it what it is genuinely hungry for. This kind of mindful nourishment restores not just vitality, but trust. It teaches you to trust your body again, to know when to push and when to pause, when to cleanse and when to indulge, when to act and when to simply breathe. The act of eating, often reduced to a mechanical habit, can become a profound ritual of respect. Food is not merely fuel, it is energy, memory, and medicine. Each meal offers an opportunity to connect with yourself and the earth. When you eat with mindfulness, you bring gratitude to the process, the farmers who grew it, the soil that nurtured it, the body that receives it. Eating slowly, without distraction, allows the senses to awaken. You begin to notice the colors, textures, and flavors, and in doing so, you invite your body to fully participate in the experience. Nourishment is not about restriction or guilt. It is about pleasure and balance. It's about choosing what makes you feel alive, not just what looks good on paper. When you stop punishing your body with diets and start feeding it with kindness, healing begins naturally. Movement is another essential language of nourishment. The body was designed to move, to stretch, to dance, to express. Yet, in the modern world, movement often becomes transactional, something we do to burn calories, tone muscles, or fit an image. But true movement, the kind that nourishes rather than depletes, is born from joy, not judgment. When a woman moves her body with love, she awakens dormant energy within her. Yoga, walking, dancing in the living room, swimming in the ocean, or simply stretching after waking up, each is an offering to the self. Movement becomes a conversation with the body. I hear you. I honor you. I am here with you. This shift from punishment to partnership transforms how energy flows. The body feels safe again, strong again, expressive again. Rest is often the most neglected form of nourishment. We live in a culture that worships exhaustion as a badge of honor. Productivity becomes identity, and rest becomes guilt. But the body cannot thrive in constant output. It needs stillness to regenerate, just as nature needs night to recover from day. Sleep is not just a biological necessity, it is sacred restoration. During sleep, the body repairs, the mind processes, and the spirit renews. Rest also exists beyond sleep. It is found in still moments of silence, solitude, or simple presence. A walk without your phone, a bath without agenda, a day spent doing nothing but breathing. All of these are acts of nourishment. They remind the body that it is safe to slow down, that worthiness is not measured by productivity, and that being is as valuable as doing. To nourish the body as an act of self-respect also means learning the art of boundaries, especially with what we consume. Consumption is not limited to food. It includes media, conversations, environments, and energy. Every word you hear, every image you scroll through, Every person you spend time with leaves an imprint on your body. The nervous system reacts to these inputs, contracting in fear or expanding in peace. When you become mindful of what you allow into your space, you protect your internal ecosystem. Saying no to toxic energy, reducing exposure to negativity, and curating what uplifts you are all forms of nourishment. The body thrives in environments of harmony. It mirrors the energy it absorbs. One of the most profound ways to nourish the body is through touch. Human touch has the power to calm the nervous system, release stored emotion, and cultivate connection. Whether through self-massage, skincare rituals, or the simple act of placing a hand over your heart, touch communicates safety. It says to the body, "You are seen, you are loved." Many women carry tension without even realizing it. Tight jaws, clenched fists, hunched shoulders. Gentle touch and mindful awareness invite those muscles to release and remind the body that it no longer has to armor itself against the world. In that softness, energy begins to flow again, and vitality is restored. Hydration is another element often overlooked in its simplicity. Water is life. Every cell depends on it to function. Drinking water mindfully, with gratitude, becomes a sacred exchange. It's not just about quenching thirst. It's about cleansing, replenishing, and renewing. Water moves through the body like emotion moves through the heart. It carries what needs to be released. Just as stagnant water breeds decay, emotional stagnation breeds fatigue. Staying hydrated, inside and out, is symbolic of flow, of letting life move through you instead of resisting it. Self-respect in nourishment also means rejecting comparison. Every body has its own rhythm, shape, and needs. What nourishes one may not nourish another. The act of comparison starves the soul, even when the stomach is full. Nourishment is personal. It's an intimate relationship between you and your body. When you stop measuring yourself against others and start listening to your own cycles, you reclaim autonomy. You begin to understand that beauty is not defined by symmetry or size, but by vitality. A nourished body radiates a quiet confidence that cannot be replicated because it is rooted in authenticity. Healing the relationship with food, movement, and rest often requires unlearning years of conditioning. Many women were taught to distrust their bodies, to see hunger as weakness, rest as laziness, and pleasure as indulgence. But the truth is that your body has always known what it needs. It just needs your permission to guide you. Relearning how to listen is an act of rebellion against everything that told you to disconnect. It's an act of sovereignty. You begin to notice how certain foods make you feel, how certain routines energize or drain you, how certain environments uplift or unsettle you. This awareness becomes the foundation of self-respect. The cycle of nourishment mirrors nature. Just as the earth moves through seasons of growth, harvest, decay, and rest, so too does the human body. There are times for action and times for stillness, times for cleansing and times for indulgence. When you align your habits with these natural cycles, you live in flow rather than force. You stop fighting your body and start partnering with it. For example, during stressful times, your body might crave grounding foods or slower movement, while in periods of inspiration, it might crave lightness and expansion. Listening to these shifts deepens your connection to yourself and to the rhythms of life itself. Nourishing the body also involves the mind. The thoughts you think about your body become the energy your body receives. Negative self-talk creates internal tension, while gratitude softens it. Speaking kindly to yourself is one of the most powerful forms of nourishment. Instead of criticizing your reflection, you can thank your body for carrying you through life, for healing wounds, for breathing without instruction, for holding your spirit each day. This shift in dialogue rewires the nervous system from survival to safety, from shame to strength. Community and connection are also integral to physical nourishment. Sharing meals, moving together, laughing with others, all of these experiences feed the body with belonging. Isolation starves the soul, while authentic connection nourishes it deeply. When women gather, in friendship, sisterhood, or solidarity, they create a field of support that strengthens their collective well-being. The body relaxes when it feels seen and accepted. It thrives when surrounded by care. Ultimately, nourishing the body as an act of self-respect is a reclamation of power. It is choosing to treat yourself with the same tenderness you offer others. It is recognizing that your body is not an obstacle, but an ally, not a burden, but a blessing. Every choice, what you eat, how you move, when you rest, and what you allow into your space, is a conversation with your own divinity. To nourish your body is to tell yourself every single day that you are worthy of health, peace, and love. Peace is not something you stumble upon by chance. It is something you protect, cultivate, and practice intentionally. For many women, peace becomes the first thing to slip away in the whirlwind of responsibilities, relationships, and expectations. Yet, the most profound truth about peace is that it begins within. Protecting peace is not about isolating yourself from the world. It's about learning how to stand in the center of it without losing your equilibrium. It is the art of creating space in your life where calm, clarity, and contentment can breathe. Boundaries and presence are the guardians of that space. Without them, peace becomes fleeting, constantly disrupted by external noise or internal turmoil. But when a woman learns to establish boundaries and embody presence, she begins to live from her center rather than her edges. Boundaries are an act of self-love in motion. They define where your energy begins and where it ends. Many women struggle with boundaries because they are conditioned to be accommodating, nurturing, and endlessly available. They give from an empty cup, believing that love means self-sacrifice and kindness means compliance. Over time, this erodes emotional stability, leading to resentment, burnout, and disconnection. Protecting peace requires unlearning that pattern. It begins with understanding that saying no is not rejection. It is redirection. A boundary is not a wall meant to keep people out. It is a filter that ensures what enters your life aligns with your values and well-being. When you say yes to everyone else at the expense of yourself, you silently say no to your own peace. Boundaries restore balance by giving your energy purpose and direction. The first boundary every woman must reclaim is with herself, the boundary between reaction and response. Peace is often lost, not because of what happens, but because of how we internalize it. The mind tends to amplify chaos, replaying moments of conflict or worry like a broken record. But when you pause, breathe, and create space before reacting, you reclaim power. That pause is the gatekeeper of peace. It allows you to choose presence over impulse, clarity over confusion. The more you practice this inner boundary, the stronger your emotional foundation becomes. You realize that you don't have to attend every argument you're invited to, that not every opinion deserves your energy, and that silence can sometimes speak louder than defense. External boundaries follow from internal ones. They manifest in the way you manage time, relationships, work, and social energy. Protecting peace means understanding that your time and attention are sacred currencies. Every conversation, task, and interaction either nourishes or drains your peace. Learning to discern between the two is an act of wisdom. Boundaries with people do not mean you care less. They mean you choose to care consciously. This could look like limiting contact with toxic individuals, setting specific hours for work communication, or simply allowing yourself to leave when something no longer feels aligned. Each small act of boundary setting reinforces the truth that your peace is non-negotiable. Presence, on the other hand, is the state of being fully here, anchored in the now rather than lost in the past or tangled in the future. Presence and peace are deeply intertwined. You cannot have one without the other. The mind, left unattended, drifts constantly between what was and what could be, creating anxiety and regret. But peace exists only in the present moment. Practicing presence is about returning again and again to what is right before you, the breath, the body, the sound of life unfolding. When you are present, the mind slows down and the nervous system begins to regulate itself naturally. You start to see that much of what steals your peace are illusions of thought, expectations that never happened, fears that never materialized, stories that were never yours to carry. In a world built on distraction, presence becomes a radical act. Technology, notifications, and social media constantly pull attention away from what is real. The more disconnected you become from the present, the easier it is for external chaos to invade your inner world. Protecting peace means reclaiming your attention as a sacred resource. It means creating digital boundaries, moments where you step away from screens, from the constant comparison and noise, and return to your breath, your senses, and your body. When you spend time in stillness, even a few minutes a day, you recalibrate your entire system. You remember that peace isn't found in control, but in awareness. Boundaries and presence also work together to heal emotional energy leaks. Emotional exhaustion often stems from overextending, overthinking, and overcommitting. Many women operate from a place of guilt or obligation, feeling responsible for everyone else's emotions. But emotional peace requires you to know where you end and another begins. You are not responsible for how others perceive your boundaries, only for maintaining them with integrity. The moment you stop trying to fix or please others at the expense of yourself, you free up energy to nurture your own well-being. This doesn't make you selfish. It makes you self-aware. Peace grows in that awareness like a quiet flame that no longer depends on external validation to keep burning. Protecting peace through boundaries also extends to the physical environment. The spaces you inhabit, your home, your workspace, your surroundings, carry energetic weight. Clutter, chaos, and noise can unconsciously contribute to mental unrest. Creating a peaceful environment is an act of mindfulness. It doesn't require perfection, just intention. A tidy corner, a candle, soft music, or natural light can all signal to the body that it is safe to relax. The physical mirrors the internal. When your environment supports calm, your mind follows suit. Creating sacred spaces, even small ones, where you can retreat, reflect, and recharge is essential to maintaining balance in a world that rarely pauses. Peace also thrives on honesty. Many women lose their sense of peace when they live in conflict with their truth, saying yes when they mean no, hiding their feelings to keep others comfortable, or staying in places where their spirit feels heavy. Authenticity is a form of boundary. It is the act of choosing alignment over approval. Every time you honor your truth, no matter how small, you protect your peace. It may not always be comfortable. Honesty often isn't, but it creates long-term freedom. Pretending, pleasing, and performing may bring temporary harmony on the surface, but it fractures the soul beneath. Peace cannot coexist with pretense. It needs authenticity to survive. Another essential layer of protecting peace is forgiveness. Resentment, anger, and grudges create internal noise that disturbs emotional balance. Holding on to these emotions is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to suffer. Forgiveness is not about forgetting or condoning. It is about releasing your attachment to pain. When you forgive, you liberate yourself from the emotional weight of the past. This act of release restores presence. You no longer live in what was, you return to what is. Peace then becomes a lived experience rather than a distant ideal. Boundaries are also about energy protection. Every interaction carries vibration, and some exchanges leave you feeling heavy or drained. Learning to protect your energy doesn't mean avoiding people. It means becoming conscious of how energy flows in and out of your life. Practices like grounding, meditation, spending time in nature, or even visualizing protective light around you can help restore energetic balance. The body and mind are constantly absorbing signals. Peace requires creating moments to reset those signals. Nature, especially, has an effortless way of restoring equilibrium. The rhythm of waves, the sound of leaves, or the warmth of sunlight reminds the nervous system what stillness feels like. Presence deepens through gratitude. Gratitude shifts perception from what's missing to what's here. It brings the mind back to the present moment, dissolving comparison and anxiety. When you practice gratitude daily, through journaling, reflection, or simple acknowledgement, you train the mind to notice peace instead of problems. It doesn't erase challenges, but it changes the way you meet them. Gratitude teaches that peace isn't the absence of difficulty, but the ability to stay centered within it. Relationships are perhaps the most significant testing ground for boundaries and presence. They can either nourish your peace or challenge it constantly. Protecting peace in relationships doesn't mean withdrawing from love. It means loving consciously. It's choosing to communicate honestly, to listen deeply, and to walk away from dynamics that erode your spirit. Healthy relationships respect individuality. They don't demand the sacrifice of selfhood for connection. When two people honor their own peace, they create harmony that flows naturally rather than forcefully. Love without boundaries leads to enmeshment, but love with boundaries leads to freedom. The practice of protecting peace also involves embracing solitude. Solitude is not loneliness. It is the space where you return to yourself. In solitude, you hear the quiet voice beneath the noise, the intuition that guides without words. Many women fear solitude because it brings them face to face with their emotions. Yet, it is in that stillness that the heart softens and healing begins. Presence deepens when you are not distracted by others, but anchored in yourself. Solitude becomes sacred when you realize it is not the absence of love, but the presence of self. Peace also requires acceptance. Life will never be perfectly balanced or predictable. The weather changes, plans fall apart, and emotions fluctuate. Protecting peace means surrendering the illusion of control. It's the understanding that peace doesn't depend on circumstances, but on perspective. Acceptance doesn't mean passivity. It means choosing not to suffer twice, once from what happens and again from resisting it. When you stop fighting life, you create space for flow. That flow carries you with less friction and more grace. Ultimately, protecting peace through boundaries and presence is a lifelong practice. It's not about escaping the world, but learning how to move through it consciously, maintaining stillness within motion. Boundaries teach you where your energy belongs, and presence teaches you how to stay rooted in it. Together, they form the foundation of a life lived in alignment, where peace is not something to chase, but something to embody in every breath, every choice, and every moment of awareness,